Like a lot of Americans, I had never left the United States before. I am almost 40 years old and I had never traveled internationally. The last few weeks, my family and I have been traveling, and we're currently in Thailand and have been here for several weeks. And I have learned a lot after leaving the US and experiencing different cultures that I have a lot to say about the topic. Before I left, I was told things like I wouldn't be safe traveling. How was I going to stay safe? Especially, how was I going to keep my 2-year-old safe while we were traveling? I was told that the grass isn't always greener. America is the best country in the world, and I'll never find anything better than the USA. I was told that I was going to regret wasting money traveling instead of building a home on some property that we had bought. Even in today's current economy, that the better option was going to be to stay in the US and build our home. And I was asked, what would I do if we needed medical attention, if there was a medical emergency, if we got sick or injured while we were traveling? And I can say I did get sick while we've been traveling, and I want to share my experience, a very different experience that I've ever had in the US. We all know that the US healthcare system is broken. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you fall on. Health insurance is too expensive. It's too complicated. It's too challenging to navigate when you have copays and deductibles and out of pocket maxes. When you can be repeatedly denied care that your doctor is insisting that you need, but the insurance companies are denying that care. When you get older and try and apply for Medicare, but you have to have part A, part B, part D, and what is your deductible and what doctors cover you, and are your medications covered under the plan that you choose? It's complicated. My husband was a health insurance agent for Medicare and helped seniors sign up for health insurance. Health insurance is complicated and expensive, and it is changing. It is ever changing. And even me growing up, I was born in the 80s. When I became an adult, it was not the same as it is today. It has progressively been getting worse. I think that is something that we can all agree with across the board. Sure, people have opinions on the solution. That is not what I'm here to discuss. I'm not here to discuss a solution, but I am going to tell you some things about leaving the US, experiencing a different culture like Thailand, that a lot of Americans believe is a third world country or a developing nation, and let you know what is different here, what I have learned being here, that most people in America and the US are not aware of. And yeah, I looked up statistics and did some research because that's who I am as a person. I think a lot of this information is going to surprise you. Like, for example, did you know that the poverty level in Thailand is less than the poverty level in the United States? Did you know that homelessness in Thailand is almost non existent? For their entire country, they have 4,500 people who are homeless. In the United States, we have over 800,000 homeless people. One of the most surprising things that when we were in Bangkok, which is one of the biggest cities in the entire world, there are no homeless people. You do not see people sleeping on the streets. When you go into a city in the US, there are homeless people everywhere. And I have not seen a single homeless person since we have been here. And the reason for that is because there is affordable housing options here, and the Thai citizens have access to universal health care. Every single citizen in this country receives free health care. And that is a huge issue in the US with homelessness, is people do not have access to healthcare, and so they cannot get the mental help that they need. A lot of times they have physical disabilities, and it causes them to be unable to work. Mental health issues, physical health issues, and when they are not able to get the medical care that they need, that just snowballs into homelessness. And actually, in Thailand, doing my research, there is a growing number of homeless people here in this country, but they're not Thai people. They are Americans and Europeans that are coming over here and then becoming homeless. Thailand has community run shelters that anybody in the area that is homeless, they are a community oriented country and they are helping their fellow citizens. They help support homeless people so that they can get back on their feet and have what they need so that they aren't sleeping on the streets and that they do have a roof over their head. They don't blame the homeless people for being homeless, they help them. And honestly, the Thai people here are some of the happiest, kindest people that I have ever met in my entire life. Yes, they work hard, but they're happy when they're doing it and they're not overworked to the point that they're unhappy. The unemployment rate in Thailand is also lower than in the US. It is 0.9% here, and it is, between 3 and 4% in the US, just depending on what statistics are being shared at the moment. So let's go back to healthcare. People in the US are against universal healthcare because they say that it'll raise taxes, right? So the Thai people actually pay a lot less taxes than we do in the US. Like I said, I'm not here to have a solution. I'm just giving you the information. So in the US, we pay income tax, we pay property tax, we pay sales tax, among other taxes, right? There's taxes on everything for every reason. Taxes are a fundamental part of the US. So in Thailand, there are no yearly property taxes. You pay a very small amount of property taxes when you initially buy your property, and then you never have to pay property taxes again as long as it is a residential property. If you are using it for commercial purposes or for farming purposes, you do have to pay a very small tax yearly, but just for your house, your home, you do not pay property taxes yearly. When we go into the store, guess what? We do not pay any sales tax. The price that the item is said is the price that we pay. No sales tax. Their income tax is very simple. If you make below a certain amount, then you do not pay income tax at all. You do not have to file taxes. You just don't have to pay income tax. And the number that it's at leaves over 50% of the Thai population not paying any income tax at all. It's the highest earning over 50% of the population that pays taxes. You have to make quite a bit of money in order to pay any income tax at all. With that, they also don't have tax refunds for lower income people. It's just a very simple income tax system. In the USA, 25% of the GDP in the USA comes from taxes, most of that being income tax. In Thailand, only 17% of their GDP comes from taxes. So when you think about taxes in America, you have to think about all the taxes that we pay across the board and not just our income taxes. Like, we pay so much taxes in all of the things that we do. While it seems as if we're paying less taxes, you have to realize that other places in the world do not have as many types of taxes as we do. So in the long run, we're actually paying quite a bit in our taxes, and we just don't realize it because they're divided up among a variety of different things. So back to healthcare here. What about the quality of healthcare in Thailand or just in other places across the world, right? Like, you would think that maybe they have subpar healthcare. So Thailand actually has an amazing healthcare system. They have amazing doctors, and people come here from all over the world to receive healthcare at an affordable price. They have what is considered medical tourism. People come here specifically to have surgeries and to have dental work done and just a variety of different things. Their healthcare system is very good. Their doctors are very good. There's no lack of quality here. So what about us as American citizens, not being Thai citizens here in a country? What happens with us if we need medical care? So in the US, the average person pays $477 a month for healthcare for a family that is $1,450. For me and my 2-year-old to have health insurance, we pay $57 a month for health insurance for anywhere in the entire world except for in the US. So we have an international healthcare plan through Safety Wing, and that covers us emergencies, medical evac, plus travel insurance for anywhere in the world except for the United States because it is so expensive to get healthcare in the US. So the US is excluded from this policy. When we got here, I got sick on the plane. I either got COVID or the flu or some sort of respiratory something that turned into a respiratory infection, sinus infection, ear infection, all of that nasty stuff. So I pushed through and tried to see if my body could get over it on its own. And after, being miserably sick for a couple weeks, I decided to walk into a pharmacy here because I had heard that a pharmacist can write you a prescription. You don't even have to go to a doctor. I walked into a pharmacy here. I told the pharmacist my symptoms. She wrote me a prescription right there for some medicine, and it cost me out of pocket. I could have used my insurance, but I was like, I'll just probably just pay out of pocket because I heard that it was really affordable here to get medicine. It was $2 and 30 something cents. It was less than $3 for my medication. 2 days later, I was feeling like 95% better. I finished my medicine, all good, cleared up, fixed it. So easy, so simple, such good quality care. I was just really blown away by the whole process here. It's so much simpler to, like, you don't have to deal with all of the barriers in place. Why wouldn't a pharmacist be able to write you a prescription? Why do you have to go to a doctor and pay a copay and then meet your deductible and then have your prescription sent to a pharmacy, pick up your prescription, have to pay another fee? Maybe your prescription's not even covered by your insurance. And like all of that out of pocket could be hundreds of dollars just to get like a very simple medication for, some sort of upper respiratory infection. It would have been a huge ordeal. And honestly, in the US, I probably wouldn't have even gone to the doctor. I would have just pushed through and probably eventually gotten over it, but not nearly as quickly. There are also a lot of people who come here to receive dental care. Uh, Again, everybody knows that dental care in the US is very expensive, and most people are not even covered under insurance. Like your medical insurance doesn't include dental or vision, which seems silly to me because like dental issues can affect your entire body health-wise. We all know that it affects your heart, and just bacteria in your mouth can affect your entire body. So why dental health isn't included in medical care, I don't understand that. Vision, like I have really bad eyesight. I feel like that's a medical problem. If I can't see, I can't work. But yet I've never had medical insurance. I've had to pay that out of pocket, but whatever. But a lot of people come here for dental care, and it is very, very top-notch, high quality. While we are here, we will absolutely go to a dentist and have, teeth cleaning. I don't have any teeth issues. I've never had a cavity in my life, but I've also haven't been to the dentist in many, many years because I have to pay out of pocket for that. Asher, on the other hand, does have dental issues and has had to have root canals, teeth pulled, and it is extremely expensive. Safety has also been a huge issue for people mentally, for us leaving the country and going somewhere else. Are we going to be safe? And you have to take into consideration like the safety in the US versus around the world. And Thailand is so safe. I have honestly never felt more safe in my entire life. There is very little crime here. When you look at total crimes committed per 1,000 people, in the US, it's 41, and here it's 8. And most of the crimes committed here are crimes of opportunity. So, like pickpocketing, stealing stuff, not violent crimes, not uh, crimes against women. Like, I can walk around at night in the dark. You see local women here too, walking around at night by themselves all the time. And they're not scared. They're not looking behind their back. They feel comfortable walking down a huge city in the middle of the night in the dark and um, aren't scared of something happening to them. And you just don't get that in the US. I've had people in the comments say things like people could traffic us for our organs or traffic our child, and that's just not a realistic thing that's going to happen. That's much more likely to happen in the US, honestly, because specifically Thai culture, they really depend on tourism. Tourism is one of the main ways that their country is currently making money. And if tourists are coming over here and their bodies are being stolen and harvested for organs and children are being stolen and used in trafficking, that doesn't happen to tourists specifically. So that is definitely not something that we are concerned with. Of course, always be aware of your surroundings and never let your guard completely down. And we lived in America for a while. We will never completely let our guard down. We will always be aware of what's going on. But we certainly feel much, much safer here than we do back at home. The proof is in the numbers. I'm sharing statistical information as proof. This isn't a feeling, it's not an emotion I have, it's actual facts. And my feeling here is safety. I'm very, very safe. Everybody here is so kind and generous and humble. And it's just been a really amazing experience to be able to um, be part of Thai culture and have that, especially have Falcon, our 2-year-old, experience people that are so genuinely nice. Just another statistic that I looked up when comparing the two is the literacy rate. The literacy rate in the US is currently 79%, with over half of people in the US not being able to read above a 6th grade level. The literacy rate in Thailand is 94%. So even when it comes to education, that's just something that other people need to be aware of. I grew up in the US too. I received the same education that everybody else has. We are taught that America is the best and greatest country in the world. And it is just a little bit ignorant to have that mindset if you haven't experienced anything else. There is nothing wrong with being proud of your country and being proud of where you come from and loving your country and everything about it. But it is wrong to assume that other countries in the rest of the world are somehow below where you are at your country or less than, especially if you haven't visited them and experienced them and statistically researched the information. Now, is Thailand perfect? Are other countries perfect? No, there's certainly things here that can be improved. That's to say everywhere can be improved. There's certainly nowhere is perfect. In the 80s, Thailand was a very, very poor country, and it has improved greatly over the last few years. And there are other countries in Southeast Asia that are in the process of improving to the standards that Thailand has. But that doesn't mean that Southeast Asian countries or South American countries or African countries are so subpar. There are places all around the world that surpass America on in multiple ways. So back to the comment where people told me that I would leave the US and realize that the grass wasn't greener on the other side, or that I would regret leaving America. That is incorrect. I actually have I was very open-minded before we left that I was gonna find incredible people and incredible cultures and incredible experiences outside of the US, just based on what I had heard other people say. I was very open to that. I was also a little bit reserved in thinking that I was going to have to make my own mind up because I needed to experience it myself. Because I don't ever take what people say with um, complete authority. Of course, I always question everything. And I have to say, I have been more pleasantly surprised than expected. I realize how amazing other cultures are and how disappointing America is becoming. And it's time to wake up and to realize that there are lots of really amazing places in the world. So, anyway, I have no solutions for anything in the US. I'm just saying that things are not as we are told. And quite frankly, I see the US not doing so great in some areas that other countries are thriving with. And healthcare is probably the biggest one that I think affects the most people in the US right now, especially financially. Like, it's the biggest issue that really needs to be addressed in order for people in the US to have a quality life and the same quality of life that people have even in developing nations and nations that are America is the richest country in the world. And for us to struggle so much just to get basic healthcare and for our healthcare system to be so broken, it just goes to prove that, like, who's really running the show and what incentives there are with healthcare, as in for profit. And it's got to change. I mean, that is a huge, huge factor for Americans thinking of leaving the US, especially as you get older and have more medical issues. Family, people who have medical issues um, should consider looking elsewhere for healthcare, if at all possible. And just realize that healthcare is not like this anywhere else in the world. America's healthcare system is very unique to America, and it is just failing and leaving a lot of people struggling. And it's really unacceptable and unnecessary. I have a lot of like non-Americans watching my channel, and if you're not an American and you don't understand the struggle that Americans have with their healthcare system, you should go and watch some like specific TikToks or just shorts of people in the US explaining what is going on with them personally. Get some personal anecdotal stories because it is absolutely insane what we have to deal with to receive healthcare here and exactly how expensive it is. Like I said, my husband was a health insurance agent for Medicare and trying to get seniors signed up to Medicare. Like, why does it have to be so complicated? Why does our tax system have to be so complicated? Why can we just not pay taxes at work? Like, why can't they just take that out of our check and those are our taxes? Why do we have to go through this whole complicated process of paying taxes and deductibles and like, you know, it's silly. It's so confusing. And then our education system is crap. So like a lot of people don't even understand how to have a hard time understanding how to do their taxes. So they have to pay somebody else to do it or to sign up for health insurance. So, you know, Asher, my husband, when he was working with Medicare, there are people that are whose husbands have just passed away and are having to figure out how to sign up at the last minute, and they don't know what they're doing, and it's just so complicated, and they end up not having health insurance because they don't sign up in time, and then it's just ridiculous. And I just feel bad for a lot of people. So let people in the comments know what your experience with healthcare is based on the country that you live in. And if you're American, share some. I'm sure everybody has a crazy story about healthcare and their expensive hospital bill or denial with insurance. I don't know. There's every single person I know. One time, listen, last story and then I will go. We were staying in a hotel and right next to a hospital, and there was an elderly man in the hotel room next to us that was his insurance stopped paying for his in hospital care. So he was staying in the hotel next to the hospital, and the hotel staff was helping take care of him because he was basically bedridden. But his insurance wouldn't pay for him to be in the hospital anymore because he was only allowed to stay in there for a certain number of days, which is very common with US health insurance. So and he couldn't afford to pay out of pocket because it costs like $10,000 a day, $20,000 a day to stay in a hospital bed in the US hospital. So he was staying in a hotel and he literally could not take care of himself. And it was so sad. Like they had his door propped open and we heard more than we needed to as just guests. But that is, that happens all the time and it's so sad.